are following three major headlines tonight here on King 5. Mountain snow is falling over our mountains tonight, and that's making for some very difficult conditions on our passes. And the Huskies have landed in Houston ahead of the national championship. Plus, the FAA temporarily is grounding some Boeing jets, about 170 737 MAX 9s, after a panel blew off shortly after takeoff. But first, developing right now, a protest shuts down the northbound lanes of Interstate 5 in Seattle. Protesters have been marching on that busy freeway since just about 1:30 this afternoon. It's causing massive backups tonight all over Seattle. At one point, it's about 6 miles long near this area between I-90 and Mercer Street. This is a live look at the conditions right now. Anywhere you see red or yellow on this map, that indicates some serious backups along the highways and surface streets. King 5's Julie Calhoun is monitoring traffic conditions up to the minute now. Let's check in with her on what's going on out there. Julie.
Hey Steve, right now I'm at the corner of Denny and Melrose lanes. All lanes northbound I-5 are still blocked off. We're not seeing any protesters. They left the highway just moments ago. But what you do see, there are still cars here blocking the highway. It looks like WashDOT crews are starting the process of moving those vehicles, going to have to tow them out. But you also do see a police presence here. This all started just after 1 o'clock this afternoon when WSP says a group of protesters walked onto I-5 northbound from Olive Way. Those protesters are calling for a ceasefire in Gaza. Of course, this has been causing some significant traffic delays all afternoon. The latest update from WashDOT is that northbound I-5 between I-90 and Mercer Street, all of those lanes are still blocked off. The University Street on-ramp is also blocked off. They're telling people to expect heavy congestion and delays, so keep that in mind if you're having to hit the road. And at 1.6 miles of backup here. But again, we're seeing lanes are still blocked off. Cars left here. Protesters are off the road, but cars were left there on I-5 northbound. We'll continue to stay out here and bring you the up-to-the-minute details. We'll continue to cover this and let you know. Steve, back to you.
Julie, thank you. To our top story now, the temporary grounding of Boeing 737 MAX 9 jets after this happened. Terrifying moments in the sky. A panel on the side of an Alaska Airlines flight blew off while that plane was in the air. And we're hearing from passengers tonight.
Typical flight, took off. Pilot came on, said, "Oh, we're crossing 10,000 feet. Keep your seatbelts on for a while yet." And shortly after that, you heard a big loud bang.
We just heard like a loud bang or like a boom. And I look up and the air masks are like out, popped down. And I look to my left and there's just this huge like gaping hole.
In the moment, a lot of tears. I just didn't know what was going on. But a thing I will say is I feel that a lot of people around me were a lot calmer than I would have thought for a situation like this.
The plane was heading to Ontario, California at the time, but had to make an emergency landing back in Portland. We have the audio from the cockpit tonight as that plane started to land at Portland International. Here's the call to air traffic control.
We just depressurized. We're declaring emergency. We needed to come down to 10,000.
We have team coverage for you tonight. King 5's Connor Board is tracking travel impacts with today's grounding. But let's start with our aviation expert, Kristen Goodwillie, tonight. So, Kristen, walk us through where the grounding stands right now and how we got here.
Well, Steve, about 170 planes are impacted by this temporary grounding. And while the FAA mandated this today, Alaska Airlines voluntarily grounded their MAX 9s before any directive. I spoke with an aviation analyst about what exactly happened and why it's so unprecedented.
Yes, we are emergency. We are depressurized.
The video from an Alaska Airlines flight going from Portland to Ontario, California is shocking.
I woke up to the plane just falling, and I knew it was not just normal turbulence because the masks came down, and that's when the panic definitely started to set in.
It shows where a door plug flew off a Boeing 737 MAX 9 jet while in flight, causing the rapid decompression of the plane. no passenger was seriously injured.
This is a terrifying situation when it happens and you're in an airplane like that, especially if you happen to be close to that sudden hole in the wall, so to speak. But the fact is, this airplane was never in serious trouble of not being able to be landed safely.
From the outside, it looks like the outline of a door, but from a passenger's view, it was a normal window seat.
It's there in case the customer of the Boeing wants to add another door later on. They don't have to make a major modification.
Aviation analyst John Nance says this is unprecedented. Within hours, Alaska Airlines voluntarily grounded its MAX 9 fleet. The FAA issued an emergency airworthiness directive, temporarily grounding these affected planes until they're inspected and corrected. The FAA is saying what happened is likely to exist or develop in other planes. The NTSB is in Portland investigating.
Did it fail because the structure of the door failed? Because clearly the structure around the door that it fits in did not. Or was it just not latched the way it should have been?
Boeing says safety is a top priority and agrees with the FAA's decision. It also said in a statement that a technical team is supporting the NTSB in its investigation.
Boeing, Alaska Airlines, the FAA, and even the NTSB came together like a thunderclap immediately to not only ground the fleet until they could inspect it, but to find out as much as they could about what was going on.
Nance believes it won't take long to figure out what happened.
The fact is that we're going to, I think, see a solution, or in other words, an explanation for what happened very quickly, even if they don't recover the plug, which fell someplace.
Kristen, I think a lot of people are hearing this news and hearing 737 MAX and wondering if this is tied at all to any of the previous issues.
That is, I think, the #1 question, especially people who aren't really into aviation or aviation experts, is they're saying, I hear the MAX on the news, how is this correlated? And the answer is, it's absolutely not correlated. There is nothing that indicates that anything that happened years prior has to do with this. Completely different issues. And so our experts were very much clear in that two completely different things and different planes. You know, while yes, the MAX, this is a separate issue with this door plug and this panel.
A lot of people are heading out of town. We have people going to Houston. I know I have a trip to Texas later this month. How long is this going to last for them to inspect all these planes?
Well, experts believe it's going to be pretty quick because essentially they want these inspections to be done fast. Airlines have that incentive. They don't want to have passengers waiting, having to rebook. With that said, Alaska Airlines has said that they've already inspected 18 of their planes and they're ready to go back in the skies. So I think that we are going to see this happen fast. Experts tell me they anticipate around either this weekend or early next week that we should see all of them inspected and get those results.
Okay. Kristen, thank you for your expertise. We appreciate you being here tonight.
Thanks, Steve.
This grounding is causing a lot of issues for travelers, with dozens of flights at SCA Airport being canceled and people waiting hours to get rebooked. King 5's Connor Borg joins us live from the airport now with the latest there. Connor.
Steve, right now I'm in the overflow area that's been set up to help Alaska Airlines customers rebook their flights. You can see it's a long line, and this is the line that people tell me they've been waiting hours in to rebook their flights, and that's because nearly 80 flights going in and out of the airport have been canceled today. You would imagine this group of travelers would be feeling all excitement since you can probably guess where they're headed.
Of course, the national championship.
But the trek to see the Huskies play in Houston has not been easy.
Well, it's been rough. I woke up this morning and our flight got canceled.
His was just one of more than 70 canceled Alaska Airlines flights in and out of SCA Airport Saturday, all due to this, a Boeing 737 MAX 9 plane having a panel blow off over Portland.
Safety first, I get it. I totally understand why Alaska's doing it.
It messed up a lot of people's plans. So many that the airport had to open up an overflow area on the first floor of the parking garage to rebook people.
It's rough. Pretzels and water.
People waited 5 hours to get to the Alaska rebooking desk in order to get to their destinations.
Was planning to get there today, but I don't know. We'll see.
As time passed slow for those still in line, others were on their way to a hotel with no flights available today.
We stood in line for 3.5 hours and got to Alaska table, and they got us onto a redirected, so at least they were able to do that for us.
As they hope to get home soon from their holiday vacation,
Hopefully heading home tomorrow.
others are doing whatever it takes to get to Texas.
Now we have a stop in Denver and we get in a lot later now.
Because even though it's now taking a lot more money and more time,
That's what we got to do to watch our dogs.
getting to Houston to watch the game is worth it all.
And we would drive if we had to. It's not even an option. So no, we're thrilled. We're thrilled. It's been a phenomenal season and excited for the boys.
And in addition to the nearly 80 cancellations with Alaska Airlines here at the airport today, there has also been more than 70 delays with Alaska as well. SEA Airport, Connor Board, King 5 News.
Connor, thank you. We're going to check back in with you as passengers work to rebook their flights coming up at 5:30. And we are following this story up to the minute tonight as those new developments come in. If you do step away from the TV tonight, make sure you have our King 5 app handy. Just text the word app, that is APP, to 206-448-4545, and we'll send you a link to download it. Speaking of that big game, in 48 hours, Washington and Michigan will finally clash in Houston for a national title. This here is new video of the team landing there last night, and we have team coverage for you tonight, beginning with our Jake Garcia live in Houston ahead of kickoff. Let's start with you, Jake.
Steve, no bulletin board material is needed. No one's depending on a pregame hype speech to find some extra energy. Monday's national championship game speaks for itself. But for 3 Washington players, they might have just a little bit more motivation, a burning desire to beat Michigan because they know Michigan. Giles Jackson has a knack for showing up when the lights are bright and the stage is significant. Call him Big Game Giles, a habit that started at the Big House. Before Jackson was on Montlake, he played for Michigan, a return specialist and a gadget speedster.
Scored against Ohio State. That was a fun moment for true freshman year. That was great. Scored my first touchdown in the Big House. So great moment for sure being there. Lots of great memories.
Jackson transferred to UW in 2021 to be closer to family and will face his former team on Monday. Meanwhile, getting away from family was a situation for Armon and Javon Parker.
It's crazy because a lot of family group was rooting for Michigan.
In a sense, they'll face their former team too. The team that was half an hour down the road from where they grew up in Detroit.
Now they switched over and root for us now because they like, congratulations, we rooting for y'all, go beat Michigan and stuff like that. So it's been a whole full circle moment.
Javon and Armon have been in lockstep since the beginning. Identical twins who share identical traits.
Every time we on the field together, like we get an extra boost. I love this boy right here, man. We get to experience this whole thing, college football together, spend this life together.
Their desire to beat Michigan, after neither was recruited by Michigan, is also the same.
That's the goal. That's the goal to show them that they missed out on this, and we here now.
For Jackson, his DNA might be different, but what Monday means to him is cut from the same cloth.
Can't get any better. 2 great programs going at it, honestly. So it'll be a fun one for sure.
Jackson missed the first 5 games of the season for the Huskies with a broken thumb, but his fingers looked fine on his first touch of the season. It went for a touchdown in that big rivalry game against Oregon. This is technically a redshirt season for him, but he's eligible to play in Monday's national championship game per NCAA rules. Let's head over to Jake Wittenberg, who's with fans that weren't impacted by that crazy travel in Seattle ahead of Monday's game. Jake.
It's Media Day, the first chance for players and coaches to address the media here in Houston at the National Championship, and it's the first time fans get a chance to meet their heroes.
Let's go Huskies!
Want to get some more autographs and win this football game.
Before the players ever set foot on the national championship football field,
We got Polk, Caleppo.
they're here facing adoring fans at Media Day, the first big event for players and coaches since landing in Houston.
I think we have 14.
All edging to catch a glimpse of their Husky heroes.
I got a bunch of autographs from the Huskies, 9 to be exact.
Fans like the Fowlers from Arlington.
Put it into words, I'm going to go crazy in the stand if we do win, and then we will be on cloud 9.
The Curadas from Bothell.
All pumped up.
Ready to go.
Go dog.
And then there's the Smiths from Mercer Island. A house divided. Mindy attended the UW, but now have a son that goes to Michigan.
We have a divided house. It'll be very energetic.
a house divided and undecided. Who do you root for? How do you do that?
Whoever wins, it's great. We'll have to console whoever loses in some fashion. Yeah.
But go Dogs.
The big game's on Monday, but today it already feels worth the trip. How many do you have now?
Around 28 to 30.
I had a chance to ask head coach Kalen DeBoer about whether it's been difficult to keep this team grounded with all of this hype right now. He said not really. He says they're laser focused on the final step. In Houston, Jake Wittenberg, King 5 News.
Our team coverage continues tonight in King 5 Sports. Chris Egan has the latest from practice today. He'll join us live at 5:50. Now to the latest in our mountain passes. Snow is falling over the passes right now, and that's already causing some issues for drivers. Highway 2 is back open tonight after those eastbound lanes were closed due to drivers who had spun out. Right now, traction tires are required on Stevens Pass and chains for larger vehicles. Currently, there are no restrictions on Snoqualmie Pass. Your first alert forecast is just 3 minutes away. Washington State Ferries is laying out its plan to restore service across western Washington. Bad news, it's going to take years. We'll tell you why.
Safety first, I get it. I totally understand why Alaska's doing it, but just threw a wrench in our plans.
And we are still following our top story tonight with the temporary grounding of some Boeing jets. This is after a 737 MAX 9 bound for Ontario, California had to make an emergency landing in Portland after a panel blew off that plane while it was in the air. The grounding is impacting passenger travel across the country tonight. We are keeping a close eye on our airport here now as it works with airlines to help those travelers rebook. We'll hear from King 5's Connor Boyd again at 5:30. We'll be right back.